Dude.
Yeah.
When I started trying to recording, my computer instantly turned off. It kind of freaked me out.
Oh, wow. Got a little scared.
It was really weird timing. I mean, and it took a while to boot back up.
Yeah.
Got a little spooked, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, no.
Well, see, here's the thing. We was talking about earlier. There's another guy who wanted to do a podcast here locally. Because it's this town was built in the 17 and 1800s, and there's some spooky spots. And we told him...
Recording in progress.
We told him, you're getting into something. And, he was a skeptic, and he got shocked that 2 weeks later, he was scared of everything. When you don't do the right thing beforehand, it's like, wearing a mask. Weird stuff happens. He came in with Ouija boards, going to the old prison here from the 1800s.
Oh.
What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, that seems like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
You didn't want to listen.
Hopefully, I don't regret this talking to you two.
Well, how many stories did you talk? How many people did you talk to already?
I've been doing this for a long time, but I'll say this. I don't think I've talked to anybody who's had to reschedule the meeting so they could go put holy oil on their windows.
Yeah, you got to do things like that. It's if you're not prepped before you do stuff like this, things happen. It's like, you call it towards you.
Is there any prep I should be doing before these interviews?
I said you're protected through us. Don't worry. We got you.
Okay.
We got you.
Welcome to Otherworld. I'm your host, Jack Wagner. The people you are just hearing me talk to are named Sean, Johns, and Gina. They're a married couple. They're both fifth-generation psychics. And they're also both Romani, which is why I wanted to have them on the podcast in the first place. I'm guessing many people listening to this do not know much about the Romani people, which is why I wanted to have them on to talk a bit about their history and how it informs these topics that we cover on this show, because it's very much tied into spirituality and the paranormal. But they also have a very wild story to tell, which is why they actually emailed me in the first place. And I'm sure you heard me reference back there that Sean actually texted me before recording this saying that he needed more time to prep the house in order to discuss this story that he was going to tell me about. And he's serious. I could tell he was pretty spooked to talk about what he went through. Not only that, we ended up talking about a lot of other things. This conversation went on for hours. In fact, it went on for so long that I eventually just had to stop it because I had to go to bed at a certain point. I don't even know how long we talked, but it ended up not being the only time I talked to Sean Johns and his wife Gina. I really, really like these two. They have a lot of very interesting things to talk about. Honestly, I don't think I could really ever do it justice in terms of giving a description of these two. I think it's one of those things where it's definitely best if they just speak for themselves. So we should get this episode started. I think you're really going to like it. This is episode 10. The title is Sean and Gina, and you're listening to Otherworld.
Hello?
Bobby?
Yes, it is.
You still rolling?
Yeah, let us know when you're ready.
Okay.
Some more in the Pacific Island, they're pretty superstitious.
This is a story about... Okay, so I'm Gina. I'm a veteran psychic. I'm originally from Maryland, but moved to Crown Point, Indiana with this guy to be married.
And my name's Sean. Just here from Crown Point. Nothing really crazy going on until these past, couple years.
Can you guys explain to me like your background and your family's background culturally and a little history of that?
So we're Romani. So that is considered Gypsy to the vast public. The best way I could describe our people is, we're definitely entertainers to an extent, right? Like our people have always been used for that. So we've definitely always guitar, dancing, things like that. Anything for general appeal, I guess, for society or just entertainment purposes. We have a lot of background of that, a lot of history of that. But I think first and foremost, who we are is a lot of our culture is very spiritual, like extremely spiritual people. We're basically known as psychics to the community. And that is one stigma I'd say is correct. Not all of us are psychics, but there is a vast majority because we come from such a spiritual background. As far as you can go back and trace us, art, there's so much art about it, like that's in the 1800s that you see women giving palm readings, essentially what, our Roma people giving palm readings and stuff. So there's so much culturally that we've done spiritually for so long. So this isn't something new. It's definitely something that's been within our, I can't even tell you how long it goes back into my lineage that we've been spiritually gifted, for sure.
Like our great-great-grandmother. So, you're familiar with Chicago a little bit, but like on 87th Street, that was my great-great-grandmother's shop. And it's still there now, and that's been passed on until, her great-great-great-nephew who runs it now. We've been here forever. And on the whole thing with the psychic part is, the original men, the Roma men would sell horses. Well, now I sell cars. It's the same thing. You get one, it never changed. That's what we are, that's what we do.
Very traditional people, like our morals, our values. We're very much family people. That's the heart of us.
We mostly like to stay secretive with everything. Growing up, my mother and father always told me when I would go to school, don't tell the people you're a gypsy. Don't say it. Some
people who I've uttered, if they ask, obviously we look different, right? We look like we're European or, something. Our features are different. They would ask us, what's your culture? They ask us what country we're from. And it's I've been in America for 3 generations. Right. People say I have an accent. I don't hear it. Yeah. But yeah, when they ask and, if I utter, we're Gypsy or Romani, they are like, what do you mean? A lot of time they think we're like this mythical creature that doesn't really exist in the real world, that just only exists in storybooks. And a lot of the time we're discredited as not really being a society and a real group with real beliefs. And a lot of the times they think it's just a way of life. A lot of times you'll see in books or even just in lifestyle things. How many times have you seen on Instagram where it's gypsy soul, stuff like that. You see that everywhere, even clothing brands or jewelry. You see that very much publicized as a way of life and a free spirit. But in reality, that's our culture. And a lot of the time it tries to get stolen from us in a way. But they only want to steal the good things. They don't want to steal the bad that came from it, like how my grandfather had to live in a campground growing up his entire life. And then once society accepted him a little bit, they were allowed to live in certain parts of the city. They romanticize it. And that's what culture does in general. A lot of people, they take things and they try to romanticize it and take away the negative of it. Especially a lot of people who don't know, aren't aware of it, So a lot of people are shocked to hear that it's an actual group of people having certain views, It's crazy. And, it's really close-knit. I could talk to some other Romani I meet on the street, and he'll tell me who his family is, and we'll know who each other's family are because we're that close-knit. It will be oh, well, your grandfather and my grandfather knew each other from, when they were on the carnival here or if they had a business deal over there. We all always know who each other are. Always, connected. Yeah, so history, long time ago, they thought we were Egyptian. Our features, and we were darker skinned, obviously. We were mystical, too. Yeah, we were mystical as well. But obviously a lot of our people are darker skinned. Obviously now that's kind of shifted, like I'm lighter, skinned. So a lot of them thought we were originally Egyptian. So they just called us gypsies. And that wasn't so negative at the beginning. That was just what they called us. They didn't really know. We didn't have a land. We didn't have a people necessarily or anything to go off of. So that's what people just started calling us. And then as time went on, it became derogatory. Just as everybody else has had different types of slang and terms thrown in their faces, at every single culture, every single form of life has some type of derogatory term thrown in their face.
Well, like how, the whole stigma that we steal kids. That's when it all started being bad. They thought we used to eat kids also. So around, like the 1800s, 1900s era, after it was like, a group of Romani hanging out, living their lives, anybody was allowed to check their pots of food and spill it on the floor and make sure there wasn't human meat in it. And then they say, go make sure and check the gypsy camp. Those gypsies are up to no. That's how it got derogatory. Once they started blaming all the bad, the same how they used to blame Jewish people for all the bad. We was another one of those groups that were blamed.
Yeah. So it definitely took a shape of being negative over time. And so our people, we can say that within our own group, but hearing it outside of that, it definitely can be a derogatory term. But it just like every other word, initially it didn't start as that, but then over time it progressed into something that was very negative. And like you said yourself, being gypped, that comes from gypsy. So that's another form of that for sure. But yeah, it's definitely not pleasant anymore to hear for sure.
Okay, so this is how the story starts.
You want me to start it off?
Well, I'm the one who.
Go
so we're just hanging out now. We take walk-ins here at the shop, and we get a knock on the door. But we have other appointments for the day, so I open it up, and this lady, there was just something off with her. As soon as I opened the door, I don't know if you experience this. You ever get just knocked back by somebody's just look and energy? Well, that's what happened to me. It was like, oh, there's something wrong with this lady. It was like, she looks like she's possessed. Though that was my thought in my head. It was just, until you experience seeing somebody like this, it's hard to explain. So then I tell my wife, I put her in the office. And then now we're going to go on to what happened with her.
So she comes into the office and like he said, she had this really strong energy about her. And I rarely get taken aback by energy because obviously it's I see so many people daily. And it was just inherently negative. You could tell something was just not right. But I deal with that pretty often. A lot of people come in here, with very vulnerable situations or very negative things that happen. So I'm kind of used to it, but it was very strong, stronger than usual. And it was very strange. She didn't do much talking initially. And upon me, trying to get, more out, how can I help you? What's going on? I didn't get the usual greeting that I would expect. And she was just talking on how she believes she's possessed by the devil and how she wants to share this newfound glory with someone. And I get chills thinking about it. And I get characters all the time that come in, people who want to talk about aliens. They try to find somebody in that niche group that just wants to talk or, share their ideals sometimes, even outlandish as they may be. But this was definitely different. And she was just talking about that. And then I kind of blanked out and I was like, well, I have an appointment coming in. If you want to come back another time, feel free to call in and, schedule, whatever, and we'll get you in. And she didn't say anything. She didn't say a word. And she just left. And over the next few days, nothing strange seemed to happen. And then that's when Sean really started to witness some crazy stuff. So, yeah.
So, I like to stay up. Like at the time, I was staying up really late. I was playing the game a lot. And then, it's about 3 a.m. It's all ghost stories for some reason are always at 3 a.m. They are. That's the hour when witches used to do a lot of their stuff. And we were not talking about like the cute Wiccans. We're talking about like, hey, we're gonna try and resurrect the devil witches. Those type. And all right, I get off the game, turning off all the lights. I see under the couch. This thing sounds stupid what I'm about to explain to you. Like it doesn't sound real, but I seen it. It was all white with like these big, gross yellow eyes and like this weird white hair and gray claws. It sounds stupid. That's why I thought that I just played the game too much and I'm going crazy and just go to sleep. It's just, I'm being stupid. I didn't see nothing. Well, then that's when all these bad dreams started happening. So, like she said, like you see a lot of things through dreams. And that's when it started speaking to me more. And it was telling me how much that it loved being here because the people who come in are so lost and it gets to, be in that negative energy. So then, whatever, it's just a dream, all that other stuff. Then I start seeing more and more stuff. I don't know if I want to skip that far, but it's just like, how could I put it? You ever watch a movie and something intense is going to happen and, it has that real creepy music going on. That's how you would feel all the time. Just waiting for something and it like that music getting louder. And then after a while, it started showing itself to me. So I would be like hanging out, watching TV. And I just see this, black tall figure appear and look at me, then disappear. Think I'm going crazy. My sister, she's also, a clairvoyant. And she comes over to the house one time. And she sees it. And then one time we have this barbecue at my parents' house. And, it's about 8, 9 o'clock. And, my nephew's, technically a kid, a baby to me. And he's like, Sean, why is this thing following you and why is it staying in the trees? So we wasn't really, talking about it that much yet. We didn't want to alert everybody. And then, that's when my sister tells me that she's seen it too. In the house. And she didn't want to bring it up yet. Because, she was here for vacation. It's like we're trying to hang out and talk and chill, not battle a demon. So after, all this happened, I'm cutting like in between parts of the stories. I start having these really disgusting dreams. This is when I completely stopped sleeping. The dreams were so vivid that the only way I could explain it is like that I was being tormented in hell. And I'm talking about vivid, like how we're on the Zoom meeting right now. They were vivid and you would get up screaming. And it was just horrible. Not sleeping, you feel on edge all day. Sometimes you look and you see something.
I would have to, like, when he would do that, when he would, like, wake up, like, I would be up with him, and I would stay up, actually, for hours just worrying about making sure that he slept, and trying to ease his mind a little bit on it. So yeah, it was a tough time.
Yeah, so then during the time when she started, working more heavy to try and remove this, is when, like how you tell a kid they can't have something, they throw a tantrum. Well, then the attack started to get a little bit physical on me. So I'd be, hanging out in the house. She would be out, going to get a cup of coffee or something. And the doors would shake in the house. And I'm talking about all the doors. And it wasn't like violent shaking every door in the house at the same time. You know, you'd have a dog barking, and it's just like, this is too much. So then, you know, like, I'm religious. I start praying and rebuking it, and, you know, after enough time, it will stop. And then it started to get a little bit more, you know, bold with me. So one time I was in the shower. And, you know, it's in the middle of the day. This isn't like a nighttime spooky shower. This is a normal start your day shower. The door opens up in the bathroom. And I'm like, whatever. Then all I do is I just feel these big, hard scratches in my arm. And I'm like, whatever, maybe my exfoliator's too rough, you know? And then I walk out, and here on this arm, it was 3 solid scratches from shoulder to here. Wasn't bloody or nothing, you know, it wasn't like, oh, I got mangled. But it's like, you know, like if a cat scratched you. And it was just so much nonsense like that on the daily. Like you'd feel your shoulder get grabbed. You know, like when you was a kid and you'd run up the stairs because you felt like there was a monster. Imagine if all that was true. That's what it was like for about, 2 weeks?
Couple weeks.
It was disgusting.
Yeah.
It's just thinking about all of it now and, you know, where we're at now mentally. I don't know how I went through it. You know, if I didn't have my wife being who she is, I don't know what, you know, how much stronger things could have been, what I could have seen. It's just hard to explain how depressed and alone something could make you feel and how crazy you could think you are. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't really talk to like some random guy on the street about this. It's, you know, you got to talk to people who believe, and then you get this stigma about how people think you're crazy. You know, now you're doing a whole podcast about all this, and maybe, you know, other people who experience stuff like this would be able to reach out and seek the help that they need, because you're not dealing with something that's like Insidious, like a movie, and the good guy always wins. It takes a lot of work to get rid of these things. And how can I explain it? I just don't want anybody to think that they're alone in these situations anymore, or that they're crazy. Because you got, like, you know, the paranormal guys on TV, and they're just, you know, bullshit guys who's just hanging out in the dark room with night vision cameras. You know, nobody really talks about what really happened. You know, you got the shows, and you can't reach out to those people. There's nobody to talk about these things.
Not even your psychiatrist.
Yeah, you can't tell your psychiatrist. They pitch you on...
in a psych ward.
Yeah, they really would. Mm-hmm. You know, and... you know, I'm grateful for where I'm at now, but, you know, the haunting was the worst experience I've ever had. It's just, like, to explain it to the people who's listening, to give them something. I'm going to need a minute to think of that. Okay. So if there's any questions you have for her, I try to explain it to somebody.
Yeah, so I started seeing it, more so feeling it at the beginning. I'm definitely different than him, you know, in a spiritual sense. So it didn't really come to me as in visions necessarily, as he was saying. But I definitely felt the energy in the house change. Like after those few days, he was getting more irritable, just reacting. And we never fight, like never. If we've had maybe 1 or 2 little like fights within our marriage, like it would be a big thing, but we rarely ever fight. And he was just getting more and more irritable as time went on.
And I wasn't even hangry.
Yeah, it was just things were shifting. The people that were coming in, it was even changing. Like, it seemed like it was bringing in just people with even more negativity, you know?
Like,
so
darker people who were going through
really bad stuff.
Yeah,
or
like, we don't wanna tell
people who were
business.
experiencing things in their homes, and way more than usual. Like, I'd say I get that a small percentage of time, but it was way more than usual where people were like coming to me and saying they needed to remove something, or it was just something super negative. Like, it was just a lot of stuff that I don't usually see as daily as I was. And it was every single person coming in. It was so much going on. Even our dog was acting different. He wouldn't go near Sean for a little while.
And I've raised this dog since he was a puppy.
Yeah.
Like, it's my dog.
It's
I've
his
had this
dog.
dog before we were married.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this dog is 12. He's my dog.
Yeah. And that whole time he was very distant. And the dog was on edge. Like, he was not normal at all as well. But then I started to witness some things after time went on, after I guess it matured a little bit. And that's when I started to see it. And so it came to me in my dream as well. And it was saying similar things to me and kind of taunting me as if like, haha, like, you can't get rid of me. I love it here. And just like taunting me.
Like Conor McGregor would taunt somebody.
What did it look like? How did it appear to you?
So with me, it definitely had more features. I know for him, when it appeared to him in his dream specifically, it was more like this ball, like this dark energy, like coming to him. With me, it was definitely more of a demonic presence. So it definitely took its own form with me and had the guts to do that. So maybe because I'm just more spiritually prone, I'm able to see more of it. So he actually fully formed in front of me. So it was definitely difficult to digest all of it as I got up, how much of it, because it couldn't touch me. So that's good. But it was definitely taunting me as if, like, there's nothing you can do to get rid of me. And I'm here and I'm going to take over whatever you have. And as I woke up in like a cold sweat. And I told him, like, immediately as he got up, and I was like, I seen this. I was like, something's go wrong. Like, something's happening and we need to get control over this. And he was like, oh my God, you're seeing it too. And that's when I was like, wait, what? And then we started to talk about it because up at that point, he wasn't really vocal about it. He didn't bring it up. He just thought he was just crazy. Like, he didn't think to really come to me. He thought I was going to think he was just insane.
Well, it was around the time when COVID was a thing, and, I was, my work wasn't going as good, and I was staying up late, and
yeah,
I just wasn't in my same routine. I was doing weird stuff all the time because I was bored.
Yeah. So he definitely, like, with that conversation, we definitely took that and we're like, okay, like, something's happening here on a deeper level. And obviously, me doing this professionally, I can get a better grip on what's going on. So I had to look into it. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. But my family's gone through this for a very long time. So being psychics, we've dealt with cases like this very similarly for generations. And we definitely focus on healing and making sure that, we never mess with anything dark. We never mess with anything negative, And so we make sure to stick on the side of making sure that everybody is protected. Whoever walks in our door needs protection, we provide it to some extent, right? So what happens in that type of scenario is you need to figure out exactly what it is in order to get rid of it. So a lot of times how I explain to my clients is just like you will go to a doctor, right? And you're experiencing some type of discomfort and whatever symptoms, the doctor's not just going to hand you drugs just because you say so, right? The doctor's going to want to look into things and diagnose you properly in order for him to give you the proper medication and prescription for that thing, right? So same thing spiritually, essentially. A lot of times people go into the one-size-fits-all thing all too often, and they don't really know what they're doing. So a lot of the times, some businesses or even like on TikTok, or there's so many people that just go in and grab a deck of tarot cards from Urban Outfitters and then try to do it on TikTok and Instagram, and all of a sudden it's their side hustle. Like, it's way bigger than that. And you definitely need to have more of an educated system behind you in order to do it. But so yeah, it's a lot of training and stuff, but definitely using those tools and going into it and making sure I can identify it properly took some time because it was very fleeting. I'll say that. It wanted to make sure that it wasn't caught or disruptive. So what I'll say is it was a very intelligent being. So yeah, upon identifying it, it took some time. But once identifying it, I was able to actually like capture it. I know that sounds very traumatic.
Well, what is identifying it like involve and how does it dodge you and like what does that even look like?
It's different for everything, but essentially what you're trying to do is identify what it is. So there's a lot of different forms of demons or demonic energy or just presences that happen and occur. So with each form, you have to do certain things in order to get rid of it. So not everything works the same. With one will work for one, won't work for the other. So when dodging it, essentially what I'm talking about is going into a meditative state. So a lot of my bigger work that I do is very much within meditation. So just like I talked about like that sleeping and how that's connected, that's what meditation is for me, like in the daytime, like for that. So me going into that essentially that's how I identify it, is essentially looking for it. It's very much kind of a battle, so to speak, like a hunt. So a lot of the times, it doesn't want to show. When it's that strong of a presence, it's not going to want to show itself or be around. But with the right elements and things and a bit of a trial, you're able to do that once you're kind of educated on what it might be or whatever it's coming from. Because we were able to assess that it stemmed from her coming in. So, with more of that, we were able to figure that out and actually get it under control. But yeah.
Before you go, I'm sorry, I know you're excited to tell, but when I asked you about like how it presented itself to you, you seemed like hesitant to describe what it looked like to you. Is there a reason for that or?
Oh gosh. I mean, as much as I do this for a living, it's still a bit traumatic, going back because, me dealing with it from a client perspective and going in on, what their situation and like doing that. But when something like that approaches you in your home, it's daunting, for anybody. Even though I'm essentially a veteran at it, it's daunting. So yeah, I mean, it's also a thing of the more you speak on something, sometimes the more, power or energy you can give it to an extent. Of course, I know I'm protected and we did everything we need to, but, we're still superstitious in some ways. So yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it.
I think the question I would ask is like for both of you, like, what about for all these people at home that or like all the skeptics that are just like, oh, these are two like crazy gypsies that like believe this stuff anyway, like they, I'm sure, I mean, I am into this stuff, so I think I believe the difference, but like, how can you explain like the difference between like, oh, I know what it feels like to go crazy versus this?
Okay, so a lot of people, say trust their gut. They got a feeling when they're going to bet a game or double down on a hand of blackjack. Well, how do you trust that gut, but you don't trust me? You know, we've been doing it for 10 generations, basically.
Yeah.
Trust your gut. This is what my gut tells me, and this is what my eyes told me.
Yeah, and I think we understand that it's not for everybody. You know, that's the beauty in life. You get to pick and choose what best fits you. And we understand that this doesn't fit everybody. We understand there's going to be a lot of skeptics that hear the story and say what you just said, you know, and though harsh, like that's kind of the reality. You know, you say anything to this, like this magnitude that's outside the norm, people are going to criticize you. You know, if you say you like pineapple on pizza, you're crazy, you know, for God's sake. So that's
slightly different than a demon.
Yeah, but you know, like that's like small, like, you know, if you like that, like they think you're insane. Nonetheless, like this, you know.
Well, people like it in movies, but what? You don't want to admit that there's not a basis for that? That through everything, people were connected to spiritually to the world.
Yeah, and I think everybody has some type of feeling, whether they want to believe it or not, right? So a lot of people call it like vibes, right? It's like, oh, they just gave me a bad vibe. And like, you know, that's essentially, if you translate that spiritually, that's their energy. Like, you know what I mean? You're feeling off of what's going on with them. So sometimes if you feel like bad vibes towards somebody, maybe they're going on with something, maybe they're experiencing some type of trauma that is stuck with them, or, you know, maybe they're depressed or going through it, and you're feeding off of that energy first and foremost. So it's kind of hard to discredit the spiritual aspect of our existence to some form.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like make it seem that deeper of a question. Like, but Sean, did you think of any ways to describe this feeling, or like how bad it was, or maybe I just distracted you completely?
Yeah. Okay, so imagine, like I said earlier, like you're watching a thriller and that music is pumping. And you know there's a bomb underneath the table, but the other guy doesn't know. Like, you know, movie 101 to build that suspense. Imagine being in suspense and knowing at any time something bad is going to happen. That's how you're living the entire time. If I turn this corner, is it going to push me in the wall again? Am I going to get scratched if I go to the bathroom too late? You're scared in your own house. That's what it's like when you're a kid running up the stairs because you think there's a monster down there. That's what it was. That's the best way to describe it. And that's how you're living your life. You can't even sleep at night because it's there. And it wasn't something small. This thing was disgustingly powerful. Because with the stuff we do, I'm talking about generations, the stuff I've grown up seeing, open and shut cases, easy things. This one was a little bit more powerful. Like, if you want to talk about it, we have like, you know, other stories that, you know, happened to us that doesn't involve this particular haunting, about how we go to other, you know, handle other clients and friends, the family, how it's an easier thing than what this whole thing was.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, successfully, we were able to eradicate it. So thankfully everything is good now. But I mean, not without like the education that I've had within the, you know, spiritual realm of things, to be able to do it, honestly. You know, if this was to happen to anybody just out there in the world with no education on it or no background on it or anything, it can definitely be a very scary thing, and it can definitely lead you down a really, really bad road. I've seen that happen a lot more times than I'd like to admit. But yeah.
Well, you got, you know, a lot of people who go on TikTok and they see like, you know, they get hit with that spiritual algorithm. And then they'll go and they'll buy like a pendulum.
Or a Ouija board.
Yeah, and, you know, they'll think it's a cute little joke, but, you know, you're literally opening something that you don't even understand. Like when you use a pendulum, who are you asking to move that? You know, when you use a Ouija board, who do you really think you're asking? It's not your grandfather doing it. You know, it's not your great aunt.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, you know, they open something when you do things.
And you don't know what you're opening. That's the thing.
It's like fuck around and find out, you know?
So, what are, like, to your knowledge and belief system, like what is moving it on the other side? Like, what are these things on the other side? Like, why are they there?
So it could be a lot of different things. That's the thing about it that makes it so daunting or like scary, is because it could be anything. You know, it could very well be something good, but it could also very well be something bad. And so demons, what they do is actually they prey on that system. You know, they want to make sure that, okay, if you are in that position, they like to fool you. They're very cunning. You know, they're not just dumb little things that are hanging around and like just trying to scare you. Like they know what they're doing. So a lot of the times they'll disguise themselves as if a message that you wanted, but in reality, it'll be them. And that's how they gain entrance into your life, your home, or, you know, whatever environment it is. And yeah, it's definitely scary.
And, you know, every religion and culture has these, you know, mysterious beings that, you know, communicate with them. You know, you have, you know, the Muslim community, you have, like, the people who believe in jinn. And, you know, in Celtic, you have fairies. Everybody always has this mysterious being that's up to no good. And we have Ouija boards and we have, you know, other weird stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, there's a basis for it. And if there's skeptics, the basis is look at history. Everybody has that thing to talk to them.
Yeah.
So how did you get rid of this thing?
So, like I said earlier, first you definitely have to figure out exactly what it is, like what you're dealing with. And so upon finding that out...
Well, originally we thought it was, you know, the house that was attracting it from that woman. But, you know, at the end of the day, it was me.
Right.
It attached itself to me. So we had to figure out if it was the house that needed the work or if it was me who needed the work. So then, you know, we realized it was me.
Right. And then upon all of the further, like, investigation kind of and what I had to go through, figuring all the details out. So then I was able to prescribe, like, the proper medicine. So that can be a multitude of things. I don't want to get too much into detail what the process is like, to give anybody ideas on what to do.
Because if you don't do it right, you have the chance of making it worse. So, like, let's say if you have a cold, but they're treating it with, like, Tylenol. It's not going to work. You understand what I'm saying? It's if anything, you're just going to make things worse.
Yeah. And, you know, it's all very finicky stuff. So I always recommend going to a professional for something like this and not doing it at home. So, you know, I don't want to give anybody necessarily ideas, but essentially it involves a lot of different work. And I know Sean mentioned, like, you know, oils and things like that being a part of it. But it definitely consists of more of that. But once that's figured out, it's really easy. You know, I say easy, but it's fairly simple to be able to eradicate it successfully once you figure out the core, like, details of, like, what's going on, you know? So it took some time, but then once it happened, it was immediate. Like, once that happened, he totally shifted. Once I was done with everything, like, he was completely normal again, like, cheerful, and he was so shocked. He was like, I don't know what happened. I was like, well, this is what happened. So yeah, I mean, everything shifted. The house went back to normal, business, everything. So it was definitely a scary time. But again, you know, knowing what to do in the situation, definitely helped a lot. Because a lot of times in that situation, people maybe would have called a priest, or maybe they would have did nothing. But you know, you definitely need the right system and the right tools behind you. But yeah, that thankfully it was successful. So
When you said you identified it, like, what does that mean? Like, and what are you able to say about it?
So identifying there's a lot of different demons that exist, or bodies, like, so to speak, different spiritual bodies that it can be. So,
Well, it could be like, one that somebody placed upon you.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about like, doing a ritual to do this. Or there's one that, you attract by, a Ouija board, or one that just gets stuck to you, that knows that you're in a vulnerable state mentally and who could attack you. That's, that's just surface level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's definitely different forms and different names to each being, right? So looking into that, figuring out where it stemmed from, right? Because the whole thing is going back to that, original, lady that walked in. Obviously, she was possessed to some extent. She was experiencing that. So whatever she brought with her was not just within herself, but she brought actual other presences with her in that moment. And it just so happened that one of them stuck. So I don't want to say the name, but I successfully identified it. And once I did that, I was able to eradicate it, like, completely and successfully. So yeah, it was a tough time, but we got through it for sure.
This is freaky.
Yeah.
Well, see, this is just one story. You got to imagine that, growing up, seeing all this, there's a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, I don't want this part on the podcast. One thing that happened with this haunting that sounds really weird. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's
No, so now you got to say it, so I won't put it on. I guarantee it's not weirder than some of the other stuff we've gotten.
Mm-hmm.
So, one night, it was holding me down as hard as it could. And I couldn't move. It was like if my wife was in front of me holding me down. It wasn't a spiritual attack. It was there.
I'm very strong.
And it wasn't a dream. It wasn't a sleep paralysis. I'm sitting here in the house and I am screaming as loud as I can for her to come and get me. My wife, to save me. It's just, when you talk about it all out loud, because this is like the first time I've ever talked about it to anybody but my wife. I feel crazy saying it out loud because thinking that, there's going to be people out here hearing this and be like, oh, this guy was probably on crack or something. But it happened. It happened to me. I seen it. You can't tell me that I didn't. My arm was scratched. My doors was rattling. My dog didn't like me. Yeah. I was held down. I didn't sleep. Ever. It was like, remember the Amityville Horror where the dad went crazy? I was going mental.
I believe you. This is insane. Just for the record.
Yeah, but, when you say these things out loud, you kind of get scared of the stigma as like, is this guy a tinfoil hat type of guy? It's really like, it's just weird to say it all out loud now. I've never told the story. Oh, there's another major one I'm missing out on. So, this happened a long time ago. This is just another random ghost story I have. So, at my mom and dad's house, they live on a main road. And they used to have this real, like, does your town have this real dangerous intersection? Like, every town has them.
Yeah, I mean, in my current town, yeah.
Yeah, we're like, there should be a stop sign. Well, we had one of those in front of the house. And it's about 3 a.m, and we're all kids. We're about 14, 12. And my cousin's there. And a lady, she was driving drunk, and she crashed into a semi. So they put up a nice memorial in the yard. And the They put it right in my mom and dad's yard. So they left it a whole summer, and then, the grass is getting a little bit tall around it. My dad's trying to be respectful. He doesn't want to pit himself in it. But it gets to the point where he has to. He has to cut the grass. It's 3 feet long. So he moves it, and the house started getting a little weird. So we're coming up on the anniversary of when the lady died. And I'm on the phone with my cousin. It's 3 a.m. We used to, call girls and stuff around that time. Mm. So I'm outside, and we're just talking, and all I do is I hear this big, loud crash. But there's no cars outside. It's 3 a.m. And I hear this scream. It was like it was inside my ear. So then I screamed. And then, I hung up on them. They're all calling me 10, 20 times. I'm outside looking because I think somebody died. Let me call the cops. Let me do something. There was nobody there. There was no one. And then, do you want to hear these other ghost stories or no?
Yeah, we have quite a few, so it's up to you on time.
This is crazy. I have to go soon, but you should... it sounds like you're a wealth of these. If this is going to be a whole thing, so I will be needing more stories, and I'm just going to have to I should hit you back and get a proper version of these stories when we need them. Because
right,
we didn't touch into because with the work that our whole family is in, you get people who worship obscure gods and actually worship the demons themselves. Mm-hmm. And then, people reform like they do in anything. They get tired of something. And, they can't really go to a priest to talk about it. Who else are you going to talk to? And we got a lot of stories about this or what happened.
I'll tell you this. It involves gnomes.
What? Wait, real? Are gnomes real? Are they real? I thought are there real gnomes? I thought that was just made up I thought that was a garden thing.
Yeah, it's a crazy story.
Well,
it's multiple stories with that, honestly.
Yeah,
I think we have three, 4 stories like that.
Wait, you have multiple gnome stories?
It's crazy.
It's insane. It's you literally would think that we're just actual psychopaths coming up with these stories, but I'm telling you, we lost our minds, seeing and witnessing some of these things. Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
They call us in and to get rid of the gnome. So, the whole thing of getting rid of something like that is...
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to laugh, but this is such a major plot twist. The gnome.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
People think they're so, you see them in yards. You see them, people love them.
There's a lot of obscure religions.
Guys... I have a feeling we're going to need to do a second interview. All right. So, like I said, when they started talking about gnomes, I knew I needed to take a little mental break from that interview. It was an unexpected twist and turn in this conversation. Yet, I wanted to know more. I didn't just want to know more. I needed to know more about the gnomes. I immediately scheduled a second time to talk to Sean, Johns, and Gina. I hope you guys are ready. That's all I gotta say. I hope you guys are ready because we're going down the gnome path. And once you go down the path of the gnome, there's no going back. So there's going to be a part 2 of this episode. I think you're all really going to like it. And we're going to be hearing about not just one, but multiple situations that these two had to deal with involving gnomes, which I did not know was a thing until moments ago. So that's it for this week's episode of Otherworld. Thank you so much to Sean and Gina for joining us. We're going to be back next week with part 2, and we're going to be getting into some very strange territory. So I hope you're ready. This has been Otherworld. I'm your host, Jack Wagner. Thank you for listening. Otherworld is executive produced and hosted by myself, Jack Wagner. Our theme song is by Coberman. The soundtrack for this episode is by North Americans. Editing and engineering by Theo Schaefer. The artwork for our show is by Cul-de-sac Studios. Once again, this is an independent show, so please show us your support by subscribing, leaving a 5-star review, and telling your friends about the show. If you want to follow us on social media, we're at Otherworld Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Also, if you or somebody you know have experienced something paranormal, supernatural, or unexplained, you could send us your story at stories@otherworldpod.com.